All right, so Shaniqua, you're gonna have to drive because I can't drive in terms of the sharing the agenda. So thank you all for coming to our 2024 general meeting for the month of December. This is the final meeting to close out the year. So thank you all for joining us. At this time, before we get started with the actual meeting, I do want to recognize the loss of good friend of mine, good brother that I met during my time joining the NAACP, Rufus Mosley, who made transition um, last week. His wife put a notice on Facebook that he had made transition. As a branch, we sent out a get well card to Rufus Mosley because he was, trying to get a heart transplant. For what I have been told by his wife, he ended up getting the transplant, but for whatever reason, I guess, even though the transplant, everything was successful, he still ended up making transition. If Shaniqua, if you mute whoever that is, Mike is got that background noise. Not sure who that is.
Tyler.
Linda, if you mute yourself, if that's you.
She's away from the computer.
No,
Okay,
hers
she's
is showing a mute thing already. That hers is muted.
okay.
Let me try it this way. I could tell.
Okay.
It's flashing when noise is in the background. Her screen is flashing, which usually indicates the mic's open.
Okay. All right. But that being said, we lost Brother Rufus. And so before we get started with our meeting, and I know again there are some others that made transition over these last few weeks and month. Like the great Nikki Giovanni, she made transition, the great poet, writer, activist, teacher. So at this time, just want to have a moment of silence for all those that have just recently became new ancestors over the last month, including one of our own, Brother Rufus Mosley. So for the next 60 to 90 seconds, we always, do this. But this time it really does really mean something with the loss of Brother Mosley. So we'll just take a pause or a moment of silence behind all of those ancestors, the new ancestors that just recently made transition. All right, thank you. All right, so Shaniqua, if you can put up the agenda. Guess I'm gonna use my other screen since this one's froze on me. You can share that. We can get started. All right, so it looks like we're gonna go through the committee reports first. I'm gonna kind of go out of order a little bit just to that way I can just go through all the reports I got to go through at one time. So it look like education's first. So let me rephrase. I will turn the floor over to our second vice president, John Cox, to go over the education committee report.
My man, thank you. Okay, so this is the education report for, uh-oh, I got the wrong one up. How did that happen? Look the correct one. Oh, hold on. I just sent it off. Okay, it's right. It's not the summary though. Sorry about that. Okay, it just has the wrong date on it, but it's the right report. I'll have to fix the date. I don't know why it has the wrong date, but I'll fix that. Okay, so the meeting opened at 7:30 p.m. Began with all the members present and a moment of silence to promote coexistence and reflection, setting a peaceful tone for the evening's discussion. The committee revisited for the body. The committee revisited the ongoing efforts to establish a late bus pilot program in the Shiloh and Central Gwinnett clusters, reaffirming its importance in enhancing equity and access for students. A detailed discussion followed regarding trauma-informed practices with Gwinnett County Public Schools. Insight with the meeting with Dr. Parker, Executive Director of Counseling for GCPS, revealed the department's robust resources and ongoing challenges. Key issues included parental and student buy-in for services, the need for more certified professionals, such as K through 5 play therapists, and the expansion of peer counseling programs. Peer counseling has been effective in restorative justice practices, but greater education for parents is required for increased participation. The committee prepared for an upcoming meeting with Shiloh Cluster leadership led by Superintendent Dr. Walker in January. The meeting will address cluster-specific needs, opportunities, and wraparound services. Updates on the Central Gwinnett cluster highlighted the role of local faith-based organizations in supporting after-school programs through food provisions and volunteer efforts, which align with the committee's goals. Further discussion focused on engaging parents through community schools to reinforce support systems at home and securing grants to fund programs. The committee also briefly acknowledged the naming of the new school after Dr. Mary K. Murphy. A motion to suspend December's meeting in favor of sharing updates via the committee's group meet page was unanimously approved. During the open floor segment, a funding request was forwarded to President Paul for clarification, and the committee agreed to support the Very Merry Christmas initiative by donating 30 teddy bears for children at the Centerville Activity Center on December 14th. This event will also serve as an opportunity to grow membership. In closing, the meeting concluded with a summary of the topics discussed and the commitments made to ongoing initiatives. The committee looks forward to continued progress in the coming months. Respectfully submitted, John Cox, Education Chair, Gwinnett NAACP.
All right. Thank you, John, for the Education Committee report. Now we'll turn it over to our youth president, Alana Atkins, to give a report on the Gwinnett NAACP Youth Council.
Good evening. How is everyone doing?
Good.
Great. So our last meeting was Sunday, November 24th at 6 p.m. We started with a welcome, followed by a brief overview of the agenda. The focus remains on nurturing leaders of great courage, building a great community, and inspiring great change. We passed 3 motions: the motion to do a New Year's event in January, a motion to further discuss membership enrollment, and a motion to start looking for potential candidates for AXO. Our action plan is to research places for the event. We narrowed it down some. Mr. Keoti Atkins and Mr. Reese Walker provided some additional updates on council activities, including the reminder about the next general meeting. We also discussed some ideas to promote AXO as well as some ideas to increase membership. And our next meeting is Sunday, what is Sunday? 17th? No, the 15th. Sunday, December 15th. And that concludes the meeting minutes.
All right, thank you. And not sure if, thank you, Youth President Alana Atkins, and is Tiger Harris, Nelson Harris on the line to cover membership before I get into the other committee reports? If not, then I'll just proceed with the other reports. So give me. So starting with November's Political Action Committee. So the Political Action Committee, or as we commonly refer to as our PAC committee, our last meeting was on November the 18th, 2024. At that particular meeting, the topics we discussed was the final results from the GOTV campaign. We discussed the transit bill that was on the ballot this past November. At that time, it was the upcoming runoff election in Mulberry, upcoming dates for the state and national convention, and then coming up with a calendar for 2025 for the Political Action Committee and another event, our Freedom Fund banquet. The committee voted for 2 tentative dates to conduct civic education forum on the city council, and the forums will be education around how the city council operates, as well as the mayor, position of mayor. 2 tentative dates were set, which were Tuesday, August 26th, and Tuesday, September the 9th of 2025. We agreed to conduct the candidate forums for the upcoming city council and mayoral races in the month of October, as we've traditionally done with all candidate forums. We also discussed dates for the state and national convention. We went over the Freedom Fund date. Finally, the committee discussed Black Family Day at the Capitol. This is an event where we gather to meet our state elected official on our Founders Day, which will be on February the 12th. Now, this event is organized in collaboration with the Georgia State NAACP, in which all branches across Georgia agree to meet at the Capitol on that day. That time is to be determined. The date is still tentative by the state. So that is a meeting as a branch that we're partnering with the state conference with, that they're doing with all branches. So once they confirm that they're going to go through with the date and give us a time and location, that information will be shared to the committee and, of course, also with the members. So that ends the report for the Political Action Committee. So I'll move on to the Health Committee. The Health Committee met on November the 22nd. The topics discussed at that meeting were the branch election update. So at that time, we gave an update on the election that the branch had on November 9th. We reviewed the disparity research that was done by the committee, and we also came up with a calendar for 2025 for the Health Committee. Some of the disparities issues that were discussed were, as far as mental health, looking at some trauma-informed practices to be implemented at GCPS. Committee is looking to collaborate with the Education Committee to assist in addressing the high disparities in discipline by GCPS. We did discuss a list of the upcoming events. Some I've already went over in the other committee reports: Freedom Fund, Black Family Day at the Capitol, State and National Convention. Committee did agree to do its first in-person event on February the 15th. This will be a health forum where we'll look to give out information about both physical and mental health. Committee will plan additional events that will be discussed at upcoming meetings, committee meetings. Some of the health disparities that was presented at the Thursday, November 22nd meeting was issues around colon, prostate, and cervical cancer. This research was done by Ms. Teresa, who is a member of that committee, the data information she presented showed that, Black people has the highest rates in colon, prostate, and cervical cancer. So these will be some of the issues the committee will look to try to address as a committee within Gwinnett County, within the organization. So that ends the report for the Health Committee. And I move on to Legal Redress now. So the Legal Redress last meeting was on Friday, December the 6th. The topic discussed at that meeting were visiting the Gwinnett County Jail, reviewing the current complaint form that's on the Gwinnett NAACP website, going over a calendar of events that the committee wants to do in 2025, and discussing any outstanding complaints. So we discussed one of the outstanding complaints where a student at GCPS leg was broken by a principal at one of the elementary schools. We did have some issues reaching out to the mother to discuss this matter with about her child. So we'll seek to continue to try to make that connection. We did discuss updating the complaint form. Members of the committee agreed the form needs to be shortened. It needs to be adapted to where the questions and responses are related to the issues the residents may submit. And to just elaborate on that point a little bit more, pretty much what the committee wanted to do, if somebody put in a complaint about police harassment, they shouldn't have to fill out information talking about an issue with housing, or even have to say no or make a response to something that's had to do with housing when their complaint is about police brutality. So just trying to make sure the form is adapted to whatever the complaint is about, so that we just get the critical information that needs to be submitted to the Legal Redress Committee. So we also discussed the upcoming events that we already kind of went over, for as the Black Family Day, Freedom Fund, State and National Convention. We discussed putting on a Know Your Rights campaign, which is sort of know your rights in terms of if you ever get pulled over by law enforcement. We'll seek to partner with GCPD on upcoming events, and also we'll discuss some events we could partner with the Sheriff Department on. We discussed doing a housing event next year on dates not determined yet. And then finally, we wanted to set up a visit with the Gwinnett County Jail. The branch was supposed to have members of Legal Redress and the Executive Committee do a visit in November. This was, however, postponed by the Sheriff Department. So we'll seek to reschedule that event sometime the first quarter of next year. And so that ends the report for our Legal Redress Committee and all the other committees that I'm actively running until chairs are appointed next year. I think the only report that is left is Freedom Fund and membership. So Shaniqua, can you read the membership report that Tiger sent over? And I'm gonna try to pull up the one for the Freedom Fund, if you have it.
Give me one moment. Actually, Shanika, no, all right, give me one moment.
Okay. And I'm making freestyle it because I was at that meeting. So I'll try to freestyle it.
I found it.
You found it? Okay.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Okay. They met on December 5th, and there were 4 members present. And in summary, the committee discussed the progress on the Code of Conduct with an update expected by early 2025. The committee emphasized the importance of corporate partnerships over corporate memberships to avoid losing 50% of the revenue to nationals. They proposed creating a landing page on the website to highlight corporate sponsors and their benefits, including potential discounts for members. The goal is to increase membership to 500 new members by 2026, with a focus on life memberships. The committee also discussed marketing strategies, including in-person meetings and events, to boost membership engagement and visibility. So the action items they have is to finalize a code of conduct, to set the goal for with 500 members by the end of 2026, explore the corporate sponsorships, and develop marketing materials and plan in-person membership drives to promote life memberships. And overall, that's what they've accomplished.
All right. Thank you, our secretary, Shaniqua Levin.
No problem. There you go, Tiger.
So, Tiger, how you gonna be at the meeting and don't read your own report?
I wasn't asked to. You said Shaniqua, please read it.
I didn't know you was in the room.
I see you now. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Did
for
you
that,
just
Flo.
come on? I didn't see you.
Nope, I've been on for a little bit now.
Oh,
I called your name. You ain't say nothing. All right.
I wasn't
Don't
here
let
at that
Tiger fool
time.
you. I believe he just came. He just came into this meeting late. He trying like he was already in the class. He just came to the class. All right. So I'm gonna go over the Freedom Fund Committee report. So the Freedom Fund Committee, which is chaired by First Vice President Jacques Laurent, met on December the 9th at 7:30 p.m. virtually. So they reviewed proposals presented by 550 Trackside, Gas South, and Maison Group 6405 as potential locations to host a Freedom Fund banquet. It was determined based on date, availability, and price that the best proposal came from the Maison Group. However, the committee felt the proposal was very short on the details and that the line items needed to be fleshed out before accepting a vote on it. So there was a request made to have Tiger set up a meeting for the committee to meet with Maison on the following dates in mid-December. Part of the committee is some of the items they're working on. So currently, Chairwoman Nicole Love Hendrickson has accepted the invitation to be an honorary co-chairperson for this event. The date is currently scheduled tentatively for April the 12th, which is a Saturday. That's also 2 days after our branch's anniversary date. April 10th, we'll been in Gwinnett County for 53 years. Our branch would have been in Gwinnett County. So other things that were discussed at the meeting was going over several catering options. The committee all agreed to have soul food as the flavor of choice. Tiger and Tracy had several suggestions. Tracy agreed to be acting catering coordinator in terms of looking for options for catering. And that is the end of the Freedom Fund Committee report. All right. So, and the only report that's left is our finance report, which we will postpone reading until the end of our meeting when we're no longer on publicly. So we can have that sort of closed door meeting only for the members to hear. So can I get a motion from the floor to accept all the current committee reports that have been read? Anybody whose mic is unmuted can.
I make a motion to accept the current reports that have been read.
Can I get a second?
I make a motion to accept the current.
All right, thank you. Can I get a second?
It's Coyote, I second.
A second.
Okay, motion given by Secretary Shaniqua Levin, seconded by Youth Advisor Coyote Atkins. Is there any further discussion about anything that was read in any of the committee reports from the members? And if those of you who mics may be muted, if you do got a question, you can just raise your virtual hand if you got a question about the reports. All right, I don't see any hands raised unless Shaniqua, you see any hands raised, please let
I
me know.
don't, but someone in the chat has said that their mic is muted. So did you have a question about this? And if so, if you can't unmute yourself, you can always put it in the chat and I'll convey it.
Yeah, that was Deweese.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think for some reason. Okay, he said he
no,
could.
thank you.
Okay. All right. And I think I did just unmute him, so he good. All right. So that being said, all those in favor of accepting the committee reports, and again, for those of you who might may be muted, you can put your responses in the chat or raise your virtual hand. All those in favor of accepting the committee reports, say aye.
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 Slow it down just to see if anybody, give people time to raise their hand for those who may not can speak.
Aye.
All right. Any opposed? So y'all can drop your hand if you already agreed to say aye. We on anybody that opposed, please raise your virtual hand. If you oppose the reading of the reports. So far, let's see, one hand opposed. So and I don't know, still don't know if that person may not know how to drop their hand. Okay, they dropped their hands. I'm assuming that they meant to do that. All right, so we do accept the current reports that was read and then we'll cover the finance and accepting of the finance report when it's read at the end of the meeting. So moving on to old business, post-election update. For those who are familiar with Gwinnett County, there was a runoff in Mulberry County for city council. Young lady, sister that ran, Michelle Sims, fortunately lost. I think she lost by like 81 votes. If I'm not mistaken, it was 700 people voted in that election. And I want to say for that particular city council position, there was about maybe 4,000 or 5,000 people eligible to vote in that particular election. So again, we did our part as an organization. We did knock on doors, made as many Black voters as we could aware that there was a city council election happening. Unfortunately, with the new laws making the dates for early voting as well as election day so much sooner, it is very challenging to get people to vote in these runoff elections. One, because early voting for the runoff was the same week as Thanksgiving. The time for that election was only 9 to 5. It wasn't a 7 to 7, other than on election day. Again, just very important that we keep doing the work. We keep trying to get it out, but try to overcome some of these challenges that were intentionally created to drive low voter turnout for things like that. Overall, as an organization, we did very well in terms of our Get Out the Vote campaign. We made over 60,000 phone calls within that 5-week span of doing Get Out the Vote work. Knocked on over 20,000 doors, and then sent over, I think, 200,000 or 300,000 text messages in that short window that we had to drive voter turnout. So as an organization, and that surpassed all the quotas and goals that our national office expected our branch to do. I think they wanted us to make about 39,000 phone calls and knock on about maybe 15,000 doors. So we kind of blew past all those numbers. So again, hats off to all the people that helped, that was a part of that help, and that includes pretty much just about everybody on the EC and probably most of the people on this call in some shape, form, or fashion helped, into all our volunteers, all our canvassers that made the phone calls at Phone Bank, all our poll monitors, our people that did the text banking. Hats off to you all. It was awesome to see. And we're about 2 years away from having to really do it again in a big way in 2026. But we will have to do at least a little bit of a light Get Out the Vote campaign in 2025 for the upcoming mayoral election and city council election. So hats off to everybody that's part of the organization. That was the largest Get Out the Vote campaign. We was in 6 different counties, Burke County, Jefferson County, which is outside of Augusta, southeast and southwest of Augusta. We was in Baldwin County, which is in Milledgeville. We did some work in Cobb County as well as Gwinnett. So we was kind of all over the place. But we did a good job in a short period of time, short window we had to put this thing together. We did an excellent job of driving voter turnout. So very proud of the work everybody put in to bring that together. And that includes the people that was doing all the back office work, like the secretary, like the assistant secretary, like the treasurer and assistant treasurer. So hats off to everybody that made this happen, and look forward to bigger and better things going forward in 2025. Any questions around that first agenda item under old business before we move on to our upcoming calendar? Okay. So calendar for 2025, I won't talk about the individual committees per se, because, any events that are upcoming with those committees, we'll make sure the committee chairs put those events in their reports, as well as we get closer to the event, we'll get flyers and everything out to the membership. But I do want to talk about a few events that will affect the entire branch that's not necessarily tied to a particular committee. So the first upcoming event that we have as a branch that we'll be part of, but that will be kind of, well, I guess part of and sort of in some way spearheading, will be the Black Family Day at the Capitol. Again, that will occur tentatively February the 12th. So just be on the lookout for that. Usually around events like that, we'll have some initiatives that we want to present to the state legislatures. We want to hear what bills are coming down the pipe or that's being pushed to be passed. If I'm not mistaken, state legislative session starts sometime, I think, second week in January. So they'll be back at the Capitol, passing bills and voting on bills. And so we want to get an update on what's going on. But it's a good event to come to. So definitely please come out and join us for that. We want to show a force as a branch to be at the Capitol on that day. And it's Founders Day for our organization. So just definitely be on the lookout. We'll get information out about that particular event. The other one will be, of course, our Freedom Fund banquet. For those who are not familiar with the NAACP, every branch is tasked with putting together a big fundraiser at least once a year to, of course, raise funds. We can't do what we do without resources. So again, that is going to be our gala. Everybody get to dress up. We'll definitely try to celebrate a lot of community leaders. There's a lot of elected officials that's doing good work in the community. A lot of our people that's doing good work within our organization that we want to recognize them. So it's going to be a great event. The event right now is scheduled tentatively for April the 12th, which is on a Saturday. I think that same week is spring break week. So it's a possibility event may get moved to the 19th or 26th. Really all going to depend on what the Freedom Fund Committee come back as far as location and what dates those venues are available. But we're going to try to definitely keep the event sometime in April. So right now, I would just say put it on your calendar tentatively for April 12th, but it could be a possibility the event get moved to the 19th. But we'll try to keep it in April. Since that was the month our branch got chartered here in Gwinnett County. Like I said, it'll be 53 years that our branch come next year will have been in Gwinnett County, which is a very long time. It was chartered April 10, 1972. So that's one of the events coming up. Another major event that will be coming up will be the National Convention. That'll be July 12th, and you can lock this date in. That'll be July 12th through the 16th, which is a Saturday through Wednesday. It'll be in Charlotte, North Carolina. So we definitely want to, because it's so close and it's within driving distance, definitely want to take a big contingency down to Charlotte, show of force by our branch. National conventions are really, really cool, especially with AXO. You get to see all the kids and all their creativity. And hopefully, like I said, with our AXO committee, we'll get some of the young people here in Gwinnett County to go down and showcase their skills. So it should be fun. There'll be a lot of different workshops around education, health, legal redress, political action. Of course, it's going to be some different celebrities there. I think this past year in July, President Biden was there. I want to say Vice President Harris was there. I can't think of some of the movie celebrities and all the people that was there, but it's usually a big, huge event. And normally the city that we're in, they kind of roll out the red carpet for the NAACP at that event. So as soon as we get details from our national office, that information will be sent to you via email by the secretary, so you can make plans. But clear your calendar to try to go with us down there to be part of it, because we want as many members as possible to take part in that event. Finally, the last major event that our organization will be part of, that's not necessarily tied to a committee, will be the state convention. Typically, that is around October. I think it's typically right before Indigenous Day. So that'll be October, I would say October the 9th through the 11th, tentatively, because the state convention was supposed to be in Augusta this year, but because of Hurricane Helen, it got postponed and eventually canceled. They're gonna get another crack at hosting the convention again in 2025. So again, that's another event. You know, if you couldn't make it to the national convention, Augusta's in our backyard. Please come out to the state convention. And it's similar setup as national. It's just more locally focused because it's just going to be just branches from Georgia. So the good thing about that, we get to collaborate with other branches in other parts of the state. National convention, you collaborate with other NAACP branches across the country. So if you can't make it to the national one, you know, we prefer you come to both, but if you can't make it a national, at least make plans to try to come to the one in October. And if those dates change, you know, of course, the secretary will get the information out to you all, but I would just say tentatively, that's typically around the week it usually is. And those dates are usually pretty consistent. Any questions before I move on to new business around that from any of the members or anybody on the executive committee? All right, so we'll move on to new business. Not sure what line item A was supposed to be. Is that a typing error? Shaniqua? I'm gonna skip the B.
New business?
Yeah, it says a new business.
Oh.
I'm assuming that's a typo. So
yes, it's a typo.
All right, so new address. For those of you who've been involved with the NAACP over the last at least 5 years, because there was a period from 2018 to I think 2017 or 16 we was inactive, but we was active for 2018 to 2023 pretty consistently as a branch, and was no disruption up until recently. We did not have a physical office. We typically always was virtual. So thank God that's changed. We do now have a physical address that if you wanted to stop by or residents in the community wanted to, and you can take the agenda down, Shaniqua, for a minute. You can stop sharing that agenda since we're kind of at the end. So for those who normally try to reach out to us, typically the only way you typically can get us is over the phone, but we do have now a physical office that if you wanted to stop by and visit us and check in on us or talk to us about filing a complaint, you can do that. We're located at 3235 Satellite Boulevard in Duluth, Georgia. It's building number 400, suite 300. So that's 3235 Satellite Boulevard, building 400, suite 300 in Duluth, Georgia. So that's where our office will be. I'm at the office right now, and as you can see, it's not decorated yet. You know, just got in here a few weeks ago, but we will try to make it our home, because for the next couple of years, this will be the headquarters for our branch as far as our unit. So definitely, if you want to stop by, you know, please reach out to us first before you just pop in, because there may not be nobody here. We do still got our day jobs that we do. But definitely, you know, come check us out. We'll probably try to do some events and some committee meetings at the office, so we can kind of hang out. You know, I know we always typically meet in these virtual spaces for our committee meetings, but we'll try to do some more in-person meetings, so that way we can build that sort of camaraderie as a branch and as an organization. I know our general meetings are typically in person as well. That won't change. We'll still do the general meetings Until otherwise, we'll still have our general meetings at the Gwinnett Justice and Administration Building. But for now, we do got a physical office. So in the future, canvassers ain't got to be trying to meet us at nobody's house to get equipment and flyers and all that type of thing, or shirts. You can meet us at our office and we'll pick up that information. Pick up that material. So, but that is our new office. This is our new home. And thanks to you, I mean, again, your donations, your dollars, your membership, no matter how small or big you may think that is, help make this happen. So big thank you to all of you, all of our supporters, all of our donors that, supported, that continues to support and support our branch. Thank you all for making this happen. And so shout out to you. Any questions or concerns around that before I move on to, I think I'll be our last agenda item. I mean, y'all being quiet tonight. I'm gonna have to start calling some people out now. I know how I do in those committee meetings. Y'all being super quiet. Okay, and Shaniqua, what was the last item? I told you to take it down. Now I don't remember what was up there.
Just you gave them the date for the next meeting and the open floor, but they didn't have nothing to say, so.
Also, the last agenda item was the date for the next general meeting?
Yes.
All right,
and
so
then
our next
silence and you can adjourn.
Okay, so the next meeting for the general meeting will be back in person. We'll be back at the Gwinnett Justice Administration Building at 7:00. It'll be on January the 9th at 7 p.m. So, we'll be back at Gwinnett Justice and Administration. It'll be back in person. Hopefully we already got the room booked up. I'm hoping it's done, but if not,
Yes,
we'll get it. Is okay, cool. Is it conference room A?
Yes, it is.
Okay, cool. So we'll be in conference room A at 7:00 at the Gwinnett Justice and Administration Building at 7. We're gonna try to have our swearing in ceremony done. For those of you familiar with when we got reestablished again after being our organization being sort of inactive from October of last year to June of 2024, we had a swearing in ceremony. So now this swearing in ceremony will be one that will be for the next 2 years. We had just had our branch election November 9th. So myself as president, along with the great secretary Shaniqua Levin and great treasurer Princess Hawkins and the rest of our officers, John, second VP, Jock, first VP at large, Tiger and Markeisha and Ray Harvin, all of us got reelected for 2 years for our 2-year term. So this swearing in ceremony will be for our full 2-year term. So definitely come out for that. So we'll try to, put that together so that we can have it. May even see if we can move that to the auditorium. I don't know if it's too late to do that, but we'll talk about it at the executive committee meeting, because I think the one that we had in July was in the auditorium. So we'll talk about whether we want to move it or whether we want to keep it in the conference room, at least for that month, just for the swearing in ceremony. Any questions about the upcoming general meeting? All right. Well, I'm gonna open up the floor for any questions or at least concerns any of the members may have before I take us off the public platform and we go private to hear the finance report. No questions? All right. Okay. Well, with that being said, I will say goodbye to our people that are watching on Facebook and YouTube. And so we'll close out our meeting. Before we do that, we'll have a reading of the financial report by our treasurer, Princess Hawkins. So I will end the public facing media. So goodbye to y'all and out there on YouTube and Facebook. We hope to see y'all at our January 9th general meeting, which will be at the Gwinnett Justice and Administration Building. Yeah, I have a good night, and we're gonna finish out our meeting with our members.